Kids, lately I've been hitting the web and I've been talking a lot about paranormal. I've also been talking a lot about mental illness and the different things that come along with both of those topics. And both of those have great stigmas all across the land, males and females, young and old, whatever color, race, religion, anything that you are, even if you're in the paranormal or the mental illness camp, they still have these conflicting stigmas. So I first wanted to talk about that in depth on tape, on YouTube. Now, if you dabble in the paranormal or you have paranormal abilities, a lot of people will think you're crazy and they'll just write you off as nuts. And that's fine. You live with that stigma. Now, if you're nuts and you see the paranormal, people with mental illnesses and people that also have abilities will write off your paranormal abilities as just mental illness. So it's like this no-win situation. In my case, I have the ability to do the everyday normal, the abnormal, which is the mental illness part, the paranormal, and then my dream state. And I'm very good in my dream state. I've practiced a lot. Now, there's a couple different schools of thought as far as the paranormal go. Can you develop it? Can you go to a class or read a book or anything to develop you or rush the process along or fine-tune your skills? Well, it's always nice to read and learn things or listen to other people, but my opinion, personally, is that each individual has their own path. And just like books in any of the major religions, somebody is just trying to explain what their experience was. So the same thing goes for the paranormal and New Age and all that kind of stuff. It's an individual looking at life through their different filters and their belief structures, trying to explain what's going on with them or what they've experienced. And you may not ever be able to recreate that. And you shouldn't try. What you should do is just relax, in my opinion, open up, which means simply quiet down. I call it the yenta voice in your head. La, 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 la. You got to calm the yenta voice down, which is your ego, and just listen and look. And then the next thing, and the most important thing, is when you can get that yenta quieted down, or your own ego, basically, is when you listen and you see and you hear and you feel and all these different things, you need to have faith or trust in what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling. Because if you doubt it, a lot of times you might miss an opportunity to pass something along that could be very important to somebody else. And even though you get this wild idea or notion or feeling in your head or in your body, don't doubt it for a second. Just let it go. Let it flow out. Talk about it. Sometimes you'll be amazed how you can freak people out, because you really can open up in so many different ways, and so many different people have so many different abilities. Now, lately, in the last couple of days, I have had some new experiences. Now, I've had lots of different experiences over the course of the 40 years that I've been paranormally habilitated, or whatever, having paranormal abilities. And I saw a couple of things which I had to question whether it was chemical or if it was paranormal. In other words, like a chemical hallucination due to schizophrenia and medication, because I have schizophrenia. So the way I figured out how to deal with the two is that when I have a schizophrenic episode, generally they are at times of stress. And generally they are nonsensical, and they have zero emotion. Zero emotion. They might have noise, they might make noises, but they don't have any emotion. So it doesn't turn on my empathic nature. I can't feel it. I just see it or hear it, but I can't feel it. It doesn't have any emotional attachment. So that's how I can tell when I'm having a schizophrenic hallucination, as opposed to a paranormal experience, which is a whole different monster, because you can not only see it and hear it, but you can also feel it, smell it sometimes, and it touches you. I mean, sometimes they touch you literally. So the new things that I've been having going on, which are kind of cool, I had these white objects. One of them looked like about 3 feet tall, and it looked like a head and a neck, and just the beginning of shoulders. And it was dashing back and forth across my backyard while I was sitting at the computer, just randomly, doing my day of Facebooking and looking at airplane pictures and all the things I do every day. Reading articles about, how the last 787 Dreamliner broke down and how many people barfed on the latest cruise ship, all those things that interest me. So it was dashing back and forth, and it took it a couple of hours to tire itself out. So that's another thing which I could feel it as having some sort of agenda or wanting to be seen. So that's how I knew I wasn't just having a schizophrenic hallucination. Although it felt kind of nonsensical, because it wasn't, it could have made contact if it wanted to. But it didn't. It just wanted to be acknowledged. And a lot of spirits just want to be acknowledged. So I want to, again, impose upon you not to fear the paranormal. And also not to fear the chemical hallucinations you have if you do have mental illness, because they can't hurt you. But if you're scared, you can hurt yourself. So you have to be very careful. There's a fine line there. And I will caution people to not pick sides or judge anybody that either has paranormal abilities, mental illness, or both. Because a lot have both. And it's a matter of sorting out the realities, and that's a tough situation, particularly if you get medicated. Because these medicines are poison, and they can really screw up your mind and your reality, and make things much harder to organically sort out. It takes a lot of work, and it's very frustrating and very draining. I went through that process for two years, and it was horrifying. And I'm glad to be past it, at least now, and I dread any time anybody discusses changing my medications in any way, shape, or form. Now, the other thing I saw, which was unique to me, at least, I had never seen it, and maybe somebody else has, and I'd love to hear about it, is, have you ever seen, this was, again, another white object, and this white object was like coming out of the ceiling and the wall, and it was turning in a counterclockwise way. It was roundish in shape. It seemed to have, it was sort of see-through, but you could tell it had dimension. So it seemed to be about that thick. So it wasn't really thick, but it wasn't wafer thin either. So it had some dimension to it. And it looked like a very large doily, or some kind of very intricate pattern in white with shapes and like cut out stuff like doilies. And it was just there, and it was turning. And as it was turning, I was in my bedroom, and it came from the about a foot off the wall, and it started coming towards me. Now, at first, I was absolutely certain that I was having a schizophrenic hallucination, because it was nonsensical. I'd never seen anything like it. But as it got closer, I could feel it. My empathic part of me kicked in, and I could feel this thing, and it had this need. It had this desire to move on, and it had a desire to be recognized, and it really wanted to be moved on. So I moved it on. I sat with it and moved it on, and it took maybe a minute or two. It doesn't take long to move things on, because miracles happen just like that, in a second, sort of healings. But sometimes it takes our mind a little bit longer to wrap around the actual healing, and in this case, the same thing with this thing, whatever it was. I don't know if it was human or not human. It didn't give me a name, but it did have emotions, and it wanted to go somewhere else. It was tired of being there, and so it was showing itself in this way. And like I said, whether it was human or whatever, I moved it on, and it vanished, and there was peace. And in the last few weeks, I've also noticed an increase in activity in these little black dots that they run through the house, or they glide through the house in the air, and they feel like literally like black holes. I mean, they literally like suck the energy out of the space. It's like literally it feels like little black holes. That's the best way I can describe it. And they float through they'll float right past me. They don't interact. They just move through, but they also turn on my empathic nature, because they suck the energy out of the room. They are very it's like a little void. It's the strangest thing, and these are new, and they've been around now for a few weeks, and I hope that somebody else has experienced these as well. I find them very interesting. I don't find them disturbing, but they are strange, and I've never heard of anybody talking about them online or anything else. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Share some of my experiences, share some of my visions, and again, I hope that a lot of people that have mental illness or have paranormal abilities or have both, stand strong, stay strong. If you have both, make sure that you are separating the experiences, because not everything you see is paranormal, and not everything you see is part of your mental illness. And don't be afraid to come out of the closet and allow people to call you crazy or discount your abilities, because the more people that come out, just like the more people that came out being gay, eventually we're going to be accepted, and it's not going to be as scary, and the stigma will come down. But it takes time, and it takes people being brave to go out there and show themselves and say, hey, you know what, this is me, this is what I'm experiencing, this is how my life is going, and you don't have to be scared because I'm not some nut job in a school or at a movie theater or in a mall shooting up the place. I'm just seeing this stuff, and when I'm not seeing this stuff, sometimes I'm having a debilitating depression and I'm sleeping. So that was what's on my mind, and I'll talk to you later.